you ever get the impression you've been cheated, catch you inside.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you're enjoying the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. So on my way home from another glorious day in the office, I thought I'd talk about being cheated, or the feeling of being cheated by Harley Davidson. In my case, I just wonder sometimes how many of us who ride the bike actually think we've been shortchanged a lot, and we've been kind of done over by the corporate nature of Harley Davidson, the brand. Do you feel like a Harley customer, you know, a treasured customer, or do you just feel like somebody who's, you know, bought a bike and that's it, you're kind of out of the loop? I wonder. There's no doubt there is something special about owning a Harley Davidson, and there's also no doubt that you can build up really strong bonds and relationships with other riders, and also even with a dealership sometimes. It really depends on the personalities involved. But it's also true that lots of people go into dealerships all over the world, this is, and they're treated not very well, or they're treated amazingly well until they buy the bike. And then it's like they drop off the edge of a cliff. Nobody wants to talk to them anymore. The after-sales service is rubbish. So that's from a local level, a dealership level. But what about actually at a corporate level? I sometimes feel that the dealerships get a bad name, get a bad reputation, and it's not even their fault. No, I'm not here to persecute the dealerships, neither am I here to defend them at all costs. I think credit where credit's due, but also criticism where criticism is due. But being the front of house for the company, they do get a raw deal sometimes, and they are the butt of our frustrations a lot of the times. But if we take just parts, or buying parts, or what you think should be standard on your bike, that all comes down to the manufacturer. That all comes down to Harley Davidson. And so many times you've got to, I don't know how many of you agree with this, I don't know how many would even venture to agree with this, but as soon as you ride a Harley Davidson, the chances are you're going to be starting to add things to it. And then if you own it for even a couple of months, you start investigating a little bit more, you start getting more engaged with the motorcycle, with the brand, with the dealerships, let's say. Then you start to question, well, hold on a minute, why isn't this particular accessory or this particular part, why isn't it standard? Why doesn't it come on a stock bike? And then you start to look at all the accessories and you think, well, hold on, that's a really expensive for a stock part there, where I can get something really cheaply elsewhere, either as a stock part or as an aftermarket part that looks virtually exactly the same at a fraction of the cost. As the great John Lydon once said, you ever feel like you've been cheated? And I sometimes feel that, not just with Harley Davidson, I must say, but with all big multinational companies or big conglomerates. The end user is like an afterthought. And it's almost like you're trying to fight your corner sometimes. Now other times you're not. It's very easy going. You know, something goes wrong with the product, in this case motorcycles, and it's a very easy fix. They admit liability, it all comes under warranty, everybody's happy. But lots of times it isn't. Lots of times you have to fight just to be heard, just to be appreciated, just to have your concerns listened to in a proper way. And then, if you're lucky, you might get resolved. Lots of times it doesn't. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm sure there are lots of riders out there who try and pull a fast one as well, who try and blame the dealership or the company for something that's gone wrong with their bike, when in actual fact it was them, it was the rider themselves who have done it, or they've been working on their bike themselves and they've caused the problem, you know, the electrical problem, whatever it is. I'm a great believer that motorcycle manufacturers, well, Harley Davidson, as you saw in my previous video, they should make accessorizing a lot easier. They should make it a lot more user-friendly. Now, you could argue, actually, they already do. What more do you want? They do, they make it lots of parts, but there are some parts, like electrical, like mechanical, and you think, actually, they could make this a lot easier, the process a lot easier. And it would probably stop people making awful mistakes. If they had a better interface that a rider could work with, then they'd probably have a better customer base, a loyal base, a happier customer base. Now, I know there's a loyal customer Harley Davidson network out there, let's say, you know, a strong customer base. Of course it is, but it's not like it once was. And there's alternatives out there. And people have looked at pricing, looked at parts availability. They're still harping on about reliability, when that really isn't the problem anymore, especially with the newer bikes. But they're looking at that and they're having negative views of Harley Davidson. And you've got to ask yourself, is a lot of this justified or isn't it? As a motorcycle product, as a brand, I really do rate Harley Davidson. Not necessarily because they're technically better than anybody else, which I don't think they are. Not because they produce the best bikes or better bikes than anybody else, because they don't. It's purely because their model of selling bikes, of customer care, has been working for a long, long time. The mystique hasn't really died that much. Where I do criticise with them is that they haven't improved that customer interface. It's still a very old model of working. Now, some people would say, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The problem is, it is largely broke, or it is breaking, I should say. And people are getting wise to this. So you'll go to your dealership for parts, or whatever, but after a while, or soon, very soon after buying your bike, it really depends, doesn't it? You'll be looking elsewhere for parts. Then you start looking at custom parts and all that kind of stuff. So for accessories, custom parts are fine. When you start getting into aftermarket parts for mechanical, then you've really got to know what you're doing. I wonder if they made a customer satisfaction comparison between, like, say, the 1980s, let's say, or the 90s, or 70s, or 60s, and what it is today. If they're able to take some kind of survey. Now, there's no doubt that Harley Davidson appeal to a wider audience now. There's no doubt. In fact, the biggest demographic that is growing is women riders, and that's brilliant. But it's attracting all sorts of different types of people. But it's still got the same labels attached to it. But none of that really matters unless the bare bones of the bike are good, which I believe they are. If you really start looking at the bike itself, it's a simple platform with a lot of higher, I'm not saying high tech, but higher tech built on top of it. And it is quite user-friendly up to a point in terms of riding, in terms of the lifestyle associated with it, and also if you had to work on it yourself, of course. And then there are always those things that just infuriate you, and you think, come on, Harley, you should be better than this. You should do better. And I think one of the big things right now that a lot of people would be moaning about is the parts availability and all that. Now, many people say, oh, this is COVID, this is coronavirus. It's not. This has been going on for way before that. But there's going to be bike shortages soon, very soon. Dealerships have been running on old stock. They're actually ringing around each other, sourcing bikes from each other right now. So, whilst there are bikes in the system, there hasn't been a lot of bike production. So there's going to be a gap until all that kind of gets up to normal speed and all the stocks refill again. So that's going to add to the frustration as well. Now, I'm not saying that Harley Davidson as a company are purposely misleading or purposely cheating their riders, their customers. They like to play on this family and lifestyle thing, which I don't really believe in, if the truth be known. I don't from their point of view. I think they like to play on it, but I don't truly believe that they believe it. Within the corridors of power at Harley Davidson, I'm not so sure that, whoever's there right at the top, alongside the CEO, whether they really care, whether they're real motorcycling people, and whether they really care. Now, it used to be like that, but not anymore, not for the last few years, and I'm not sure right now. I think they like you, they value you, as long as you are buying new products, new bikes, new parts, new merchandise. If you're not, I don't think they value you. So if they don't value you, and they're not providing you with a product sometimes, I'm not just talking motorcycles, I'm talking parts, the customer liaison, the customer satisfaction, that's all part of the product. If they're not providing you with products and services that are to your satisfaction, then there's an issue. And that's why you get a lot of people still feeling hard done by. And that's why you get people moving away from a brand, going to another brand, going to rival brands, or going to brands that have the potential to be rivals. I've always said that the Softail bikes drew me to Harley Davidson, and I know this chassis has drawn a lot of non-Harley riders to the brand. I've always said that I love the Softail chassis as a concept, if you will, but the Sport Glide, which I ride, I absolutely adore it. The Slim, I love that bike as well. The Street Bob, I love that bike as well. The Fat Bob as well, to a certain extent, I like that as well. So I like a lot of the Softails. The Sport Glide, I love. I don't necessarily like what's behind it. I don't necessarily value Harley Davidson because they don't value me. And I don't really believe that the service they're providing to us via the dealerships is a very strong one. I feel for the dealerships. I have a good relationship, I suppose, with my dealership. Well, put it this way, I go there, I buy parts, they give me parts, that's it. They work on my bike every now and again if I can't do it myself. That's it. So that's a good working relationship. They're always friendly when you go in. They're always relatively happy. No dramas. So for the most part, that interaction is okay. It depends where you go, of course. But I don't think the service that the dealerships get from Harley Davidson is all that good. And maybe that's where they need to really improve as well. But let me know what you think. Do you feel a little bit cheated sometimes by Harley Davidson, by the company, or by the dealership? Do you think you're being hard done by? Why? What is it? What is it that has happened that has caused you to think like that? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. But do you know what? Sometimes I do. But most of the time, I just ignore it. I put it to the back of my mind and I think, well, I love riding my bike. Everything else, don't really care. It's got nothing to do with me. Until it does have something to do with me, where I can't get parts or I get rubbish service. Anyway, let us know. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Check out the website RevelatorAlf.com, and I'll catch you again on more videos coming very, very soon.